financial literacy, and the human condition. Welcome to Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rahaim.
You know, we love, love, love our nurses, and we really appreciate our docs.
Yes.
And we assume because they're honest people that the whole bill is going to be honest and everything in it is going to be honest. No, they're two different universes.
We are going to crush some medical debt today. Hi, it's Francis. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for watching this video. If you're catching us on YouTube, please help us help others by clicking like, subscribe, and all notifications so you don't miss any videos. And check back for the next video. I think you're going to love it. Thanks again. For more information, you can visit us at hugyourmoney.com.
Welcome to Financial Fitness. I'm Jess Tyler, along with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rahaim. Hi.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I'm always happy when we have a guest joining us. It's always fun.
Look who we have. We have Dr. Virgie Bright Ellington. Yes, like Duke Ellington, for those of you who know the musician side of me. And she is an internal medicine physician, a medical expert for billing, okay, and what I would call a fierce patient advocate, okay? So she's the author. You know those books that are, hey, 10 things your person doesn't want you to know?
Yes.
And you hear that title over and over. This is not that. She is the author of What Your Doctor Wants You to Know, which I think is pretty cool, to crush medical debt. What Your Doctor Wants You to Know to Crush Medical Debt. And the founder of Crush Medical Debt.
Finance wellness, that's it.
So I want to welcome her to the show, but I want to tell a little tale out of school about her first. I hope she doesn't mind.
Oh, no.
But after dealing with her own overwhelming medical bills, she's a 2-time cancer patient survivor, if I'm correct about that. She took her insider knowledge of health insurance billing and turned it into a simple 3-step process that anybody can follow to crush their medical debt. So,
and I feel like everyone has medical debt, right? Pretty much.
Unfortunately, too many do. Not everyone does yet, but it's increasing. And for a few years now, several years now, it's been the number one cause. Medical bills are the number one cause of debt and bankruptcy in the United States. So it's a big deal. It's a big, scary deal.
So welcome, Dr. Virgie. Is it okay if we call you Dr. Virgie?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me, Dr. Francis and Jess. Always good talking to you guys. Good seeing you guys.
Well, you're entirely welcome. I'm very happy. It took a long time to get you on the show. You're a busy woman, but we're really happy to have you. First, I want to ask you, is it true? She looks at me like, oh my gosh, I'm on the spot now. Is it true that up to 9 out of 10 medical bills have errors and that you might be paying money you don't actually owe? Is that really true?
It is true. The statistics show on average 8 out of 10, but there's a couple of studies that show up to 9 out of 10. But I go with the more conservative number, 8 to 9 out of 10, 80% basically. That's a lot. That's still a huge amount, and it's frightening and it's sad.
Yeah,
How do
it's
you know if
crazy.
there's a mistake on there? Like for example, like yes, if it's anesthesia and you know you didn't get anesthesia, that seems like an obvious one. But how do you know if it's something they did for you or they didn't do for you?
So great question, Jess. So what I just usually say, hey, just open the bill. Usually the first bill is not a real bill. It's usually not correct.
Okay.
You know? So I just say, don't think about, okay, what did they bill me for that's wrong? Just go through the 3 steps to make sure that you're on the right path to, yeah, okay, this is probably what I owe, or there's something a little off. Something doesn't feel right.
I know I'm laughing about this, and medical debt is not funny. But what is funny to me is the same sort of patterns that we have as humans that tend to cause a problem. So you said first, open the bill. And that's one of the first patterns I see is people do not want to open those envelopes. And not because they think they've won the lottery, right? They don't want to open them because they don't want to deal with what's in there. And then the idea that once you open them and you get this, that it's probably right and that you somehow are in a position of having to be responsible for it rather than argue it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. People assume, and especially with, we love, love, love our nurses and we really appreciate our docs.
Yes.
And we assume because they're honest people that the whole bill is
Yeah.
going to be honest and everything in it is going to be honest. No, they're two different universes. So the docs, the providers, hospitals, they're the ones that are on the front lines providing the care, but it's a different universe who are sending the bill. And
Yeah,
if I
maybe.
have to tell you, if docs knew what was being billed in their name
Yeah.
and being, just crushing their patients, human beings, and causing tremendous stress, which causes medical problems, chronic conditions, we would just be out. They would be outraged.
And just to be very clear about this, it may not even be the people sitting at the front desk that you see. It could be a total third party company
It's
that
never
bills
the
everything.
person at the
Right.
front desk that you see. I
There you go.
guarantee you. It gets
There you
sent to
go.
someone else. There's nothing connected to your bill that you receive and the care that your physician and or the hospital provided for you. They're two different languages, two different worlds, and that's why you have to have what I call basic medical financial literacy
Right.
in the United States to protect yourself from getting crushed by medical bills. I say, most of us in the United States in this country, living in this country, are just one injury or accident or medical problem or chronic illness away from chronic debt, a lifetime of debt, or worse,
Yeah.
bankruptcy.
Yep. Yeah. Again, a pattern I think for people is feeling shame, feeling pressure, feeling like they want to be a good
Absolutely.
person. Somebody saved their life. They should just find a way to pay this. It's not like your doctor or your medical team is either going to change your level of care or go out of business because you argue that your bill isn't correct. All you're trying to do is get it to be correct, figure out what you really owe, and then use your system to crush it down and then throw it into our system and speed it up, speed up the
There you
payoff
go.
and give it that
Exactly.
double whammy. So, would you describe your three-step process for us?
Sure. So the first step, like we mentioned, is, opening that bill and making sure, usually it's a snail mail bill that you get. I don't recommend that you go with the bill that, they text you or that kind of thing, which is what they want to do. It sounds very conspiratorial, but I say they because it's a system. As you said, it's a corporation, it's a business, it's an industry.
Yes.
So the best thing to do is to get a snail mail, a real physical hard copy bill, open it. And the first thing you're going to do, step one, is to make sure that you have what's called CPT codes. CPT codes are to medical services what barcodes are to products in a retail store. So, Dr. Francis, let's say that, you know, um, you have your favorite brand of water and you're particularly thirsty this particular day as you're going past your bodega and you're coming back from your walk. And instead of the 8-ounce size, you're going to get the 16-ounce size. Well, when you scan it, that the barcode registers, hey, this is a 16 ounce of this brand. And so the computer knows on the other end what to charge. Same thing with CPT codes. It's a fancy name for codes, a barcode for medical services. And every medical service you can think of in the United States, any test, procedure, office visit, hospital visit, ER visit has a specific CPT code. So anything that is not does not have a CPT code is not a real bill. And that's just, I tell people, 80% of the foolishness that gets sent. I have lots of stories about people believing that what they've opened and what they've been sent is a real bill. And there's no CPT code to the first, no CPT code found any place on this document, right?
Yes.
I call them lots of things. I call them invoices or statements.
Mm-hmm.
Often I call them wish lists because they're
Yes.
wishing and hoping and praying you'll fall for it, right? So that's step one. Make sure it has CPT or CPT/HCPCS, HCPCS. It's a subtype of CPT code. And it's sometimes it's 5 digits, and sometimes it starts with a letter like an A, or for dental procedures with a D or something, but usually uh, 5 digits. The the thing is that if you're not sure, then call and ask. And that's part of step one. So, step one, make sure you have a real bill with CPT codes. If you're not sure, your first step is to call the provider's billing department and say, hey, yeah, I got something in the mail. I usually say statement, I never say a bill. I
Mm-hmm.
got a statement in the mail and there's no CPT codes on it. I'd like to ask what the process is for getting a real bill or something. I usually say, quote, something with CPT codes, unquote. Who can I speak with who can help me get this? This is where the money is. The CPT codes are where the money is. And I still am surprised at, unfortunately, the training is with the folks in the front lines in the billing department and in customer service that they know this is where they've been trained to understand this is where the money is. And they'll tell you, well, no, we don't have that here. Or you're going to have to call your insurance for that information. Or, you know what, maybe medical records will have that. They'll play dumb, but that's the way that's what they were trained to do. Sometimes, rarely, you have to say, look, let's do this. Can I get a quote UB-04 form, unquote? And then all the pretenses stop. They know that you know what you're talking about, and they'll stop that foolishness. So a UB-04 form has CPT codes. It's what is sent from the provider to an insurance company. Whether you have insurance or not, they have a UB-0 form that they fill out for each patient.
Okay, this I have to jump in on, and just before we go to break. First of all, I love to make up mnemonics to try and remember things. So for our people who are out there going, what kind of code do I need? Charging possibly too much.
No.
CPT.
I was talking to no. Yes, no. You're on the right track, Dr. Francis, but the real what CPT code stands or CPT stands for is can't pay this.
Can't pay this. I like that better. I like that better. And then the UB-04, I don't have anything for that except that I thought of the band UB2.
You've given me marching orders, Dr. Francis. I'm going to work on that, and I'll get back to you. We'll have to come up with something.
You better something. Okay. I'd love to talk to you more about this, and I'd love to hear. We have stories that will curl your hair about things people go through with medical debt. But this doesn't have to be huge medical debt. This can be small stuff. You just shouldn't have to pay it if it's wrong.
If it's too much for you, I call it bad medical bills. It's predatory billing, predatory medical billing. People have heard of predatory loans. It's predatory medical billing. Yeah. And, you don't really realize it, unless you have like a chronic condition or a big, huge accident or injury or something or surgery. And so you don't catch it. And so fine. But when it's a big bill, then you're like, okay, rut-row, what do I do now?
I need one of those can't pay this codes.
Exactly.
And a UB-04 form.
You better 04 form.
That's right.
All right, we're going to get into more of this for the second part of the show for financial fitness. But first, I want to get your phone number, Dr. Francis.
Of course, it's 413-773-3333.
And you can go to hugyourmoney.com. We'll be back with Dr. Francis Rahaim, the Money Doctor, and Dr. Virgie next.
Financial Fitness with the Money Doctor is underwritten by Franklin County Technical School. We build futures. Visit fcts.us or call 413-863-9561.
Welcome back to Financial Fitness. I'm Jess, along with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rahaim. Hi.
Hi. We're here back with Dr. Virgie Bright Ellington. And just to recap, she's an internal medicine physician and a medical billing expert with more than 20 years of experience in primary care. And she's a health insurance expert about billing, the author of What Your Doctor Wants You to Know, not what your doctor doesn't want you to know, what your doctor wants you to know to crush medical debt. Great title. And she has she's used her insider information to create this simple 3-step process to crush your medical debt. And I found it enlightening, completely enlightening. And we're going to ask her a little bit more about this and Medicare and things like that. But first, I wonder if you would tell your personal story as a cancer survivor with your medical debt.
Yeah. So,
will you? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for asking because it's 1 out of 8. I'm dating myself, but back when I was finishing med school and finishing residency, 1 out of 11, the number was 1 out of 11 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in their lifetime. I had my last oncology appointment a week ago today, and my oncologist told me it's the 10-year anniversary, and she said, you're free to go. You just have to come back once a year. And that's because you had your first diagnosis was 10 years ago. And fortunately, it was something that was caught early because of mammograms. Get your
Yes.
mammograms done, ladies, please, please, please.
Every year.
So
Yep.
that was the first one. So I'm happy to share that because I'm a two-time mammogram success. And I will say that the first
Congratulations,
time,
by the way.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate. I feel very
Yes.
fortunate. And because I had access to a mammogram when I needed it. So just to cut to the chase, I was late for my mammogram in 2015. And it's like, you've got to get this done. But, life is busy. And then there was this guy that I really wanted to like get to know better that I met. And I was like, okay, well, if we want to be in a mutual monogamous relationship, then we should both get our HIV test done and all the things, right? So I'm going to go get this checked out while I'm there. And lo and behold, the mammogram was abnormal. And fast forward, the biopsy pathology was positive for what's called HRPR positive, receptor positive, which is great because that's very treatable if you catch it early enough, which I did. So, I share this story because a lot of us will put ourselves kind of like to the wayside. We're too busy, this and that. But if there's somebody that we want to do it for, our families,
Yeah.
that cute person, you want to get to know better. Yeah. So yeah, I told my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, that it's like, oh, the good news is, my HIV test was negative. The bad news is I have breast cancer.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the things. So I had the uh, the lumpectomy and radiation therapy and all the things, and I didn't have reconstructive surgery for like a year after. And it was a great relationship. And so obviously if we got married later. So I
Sure.
share the story, ladies, to say, please, it makes a difference and don't put it off. And that thing was on the move. It had spread between the time that it got picked up on the mammogram to the time that I ended up getting the surgery done. So, it's a big deal. Fast forward 5 years, really busy with work. I was way overdue with my mammogram. And I realized, you know what? I'm 5 years out, less than 5 years out from a breast cancer diagnosis. And, Virgie, what are you doing? Get your mammogram done. Same old story, got it done. And they said, hey, there's something here. This time, though, Dr. Francis, the biopsy was positive for the scary breast cancer type, which is triple negative. It's hard to treat, is super aggressive. And if it had broken through the duct, it was 1 millimeter from breaking through the
Wow.
Oh,
and they found by the time I got to surgery and had it removed. And it was so close that the pathologist called the doc in the surgery during surgery, which is what they do to make sure that it's clean, make sure they have all their borders, everything out. The the my surgeon called me the next morning and said, Virgie, I'm sorry. I know the pathologist said it's clean, but he called me back today and he said he feels uncomfortable. He can't get it out of his mind. It's only 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter, which means, to cut to the chase, what that means is it was not months, not weeks, but days from breaking through the duct. If it had broken through the duct, I'd been 2 years maybe. I would have, it would have taken out the mother of my kids. So go on this diatribe, ladies, please. And if you have a family history of women that have early breast cancer and ovarian cancer,
Right.
get your genetic testing done so you can get your mammograms too. So anyway,
Yeah.
I just have to say that that's the story. And I was getting treatment and had a surgery that I was told, the doc said, okay, the oncologist said, all right, Verge, great. You've got the surgery was great. I had multiple surgeries dealing with the cancer, and one of them is the hysterectomy to make sure you don't make hormones because of the
Right.
first one.
Right.
And he said, no lifting,
Yeah.
and you know, you're good to go after, my first checkup. And I was like,
You
well,
lifted.
yeah.
Of course.
How did you know where that was going?
Oh, physician, heal thyself.
I rolled, so 2 months later, I was rolled into an ER. The sutures had opened, which is they tell you why you don't lift,
Right.
and the bowel got caught in there and it was going gangrenous and I was going septic.
Oh my gosh.
So I woke up after
Wow.
emergency surgery and found out I had this sweet roommate, a young mom who had two toddler children who had been told that, you really need to stay and have this workup done for their concern. She had a stroke, and this had happened to her a year ago. And they said, you really need to stay. And she says, you know what? I don't think I'm going to stay because last time I was here for a whole week like now, and I got a huge bill. And the day that they said I could leave, somebody from the hospital department came in and said, before you can leave, you have to sign this document that says you agree to pay whatever your insurance doesn't pay.
Yeah, which I think is really common, actually.
It's common and it's called balanced billing, folks.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it. If you have insurance, don't fall for it. So if they're in network, that means that whatever the insurance agrees to pay, they have agreed to accept by contract. That's what a network means.
That is
So it's a
really,
huge
really
bill.
important.
So it's one of the top five causes of inappropriate or predatory medical billing, meaning money that you don't owe, and that contributes to huge medical debt and bankruptcy. So that's the story. When she told me this, I realized that she had been taken advantage of. Like, I could tell, well, this is balance billing they did to this poor young woman. And I tell the story, the curtain dropped and I literally saw red. I was so enraged because I knew she had been deliberately tricked into signing an agreement. If you sign on the
Yes.
line, you owe it, right? And I thought, you know what, Virgie, don't get mad. Don't get angry. Get to getting. Do
Yes.
something. And that's how Crush Medical Debt was born. So,
What
it's a
what
long
a
drawn out
story.
story, but folks, please get your mammograms done and never pay the first bill. There's a guy that wrote a book with that title, and it's true.
What a great story. And a couple of points I just wanted to touch on. I'm really glad that you mentioned men. People think breast cancer is only something women get, and men are at risk as well. And the second thing is this balance billing. Now, I don't know about you, but I get little bills all the time that are past my copay, right? I'm in network, I pay a copay, then I get a bill. In fact, I got one that was more than 2 years old. And I called them up and said, I don't think you can do this. Now, I don't know if I was right or not, but I was just like, you don't get to just bill somebody 2 years after the fact, having never billed me before, and expect I'm going to pay this. And they just wrote off the bill, You were talking about the three-step process, which we talked about in the first part. So maybe we recap that slightly. But there's something about Medicare, the amount of Medicare that Medicare will pay for a bill that feeds into your system. Can you talk about that a little bit? How you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Medicare is a little bit different. So the three steps, it'll help put this in
Yes.
perspective. The three steps, step one is to get a real bill with CPT code. Step two is to take that number, the actual CPT code, and it's really easy. Just go online, and there's lots of any platform, any AI platform will pull it up really easily. Put in the CPT code, and up will pop the description of what it represents. And while you're there, also ask, what does Medicare pay for this rate? Or what's a Medicare range or payment range for this code, for this service? And that is where the money is, literally, as I mentioned earlier with step one. So that's important, Dr. Francis, because Medicare really actually 2 times the Medicare rate in the medical legal system, the legal world. If you're disputing a bill, a fair rate is considered 2 times the Medicare rate.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to get that number, that CPT code, take it to step two, and find out how much Medicare pays for that.
Yeah, it's a good benchmark, and you help people argue these bills, is
Yeah,
my
we
understanding.
do.
So
Yeah.
when we get these sort of balance bills, right? You get something in the mail. It says your insurance paid $100 of the fee, and we billed 130. You owe 30. Are you saying that we don't owe that if we're in network? It's simply not owed,
Exactly. So if
even
you're
on small
to
bills.
clarify
Yeah.
that it is an equity, you'll have providers, you'll call up and say, hey, do you take my insurance? They'll be like, oh, yeah. And then you find out, you get a bill from the provider, and they'll say, well, you weren't in network. And the EOB will come about a little bit later, sometimes even precedes the bill. EOB
Right.
means explanation of
Explanation
benefits.
of benefits. Yeah.
If it usually on something, it'll say this is not a bill. If it comes from your insurance company, it's not a bill. It's just telling you what you may owe and informing you what or not the insurance paid.
Right.
If they paid or not. So the EOB will say, yeah, 000, we didn't pay you that. No. And you'll go back and you'll say, well, you said you were a network. And they'll say, well, that's your responsibility to know what your insurance is and what is covered and what's in network. I actually helped a client with that who came to me, and we got it wiped away because in this case, it was basically a well-known in Boston diabetes center.
Yep.
And she was new insurance, new job, new to the town. And when she was told, hey, yeah, no, it's your responsibility to find out if your insurance really pays for it. You can't just take our word for it. And she was adamant. And I had the client on the line with me, and I called the provider, and I said, the client said that she called twice to make sure. And you guys record your stuff.
That's right.
And we had the date of service, or the date that she called, at least one of the dates that she called. And fast forward 20 days later, the bill was wiped away. So that's, unfortunately, that's, AI can do a lot of stuff in terms of finding out what you've been overcharged for. But that's why, I have the American Society of Certified Medical Bill Advocates. This is what we do, is to help folks with the human side, where it's a little bit more complex, or a little bit more, they're trying to be a little bit more deceitful, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know it's hard for people to believe that, but you really do have to be your own best patient advocate these days. And when it comes to the billing, you have to do that. And I love to talk to people like you because, hug your money. We're all about everyday money. And that everyday money is really important. You're about medical money. We're about debt, budget, retirement, all of that. So crushing the medical debt, when I first talked to you, I was like, this is so cool. You can whittle that bill down or get rid of it. And if you still owe something, you can throw it into a system like ours, along with your other debt, manage it with a little tiny payment, and pay it off ahead of schedule and save yourself a bunch of time and money in the balance. So just to recap your core message as we're closing out here, and I'd love to have you come back if you're willing to come back and talk more about this. I've got stories and you've got stories and all of that. But your core message is about 80 to 90%, I think, or maybe even 80 to 100% of medical bills contain errors. I say this about credit reports all the time. And regular people can use your 3-step process to slash that medical debt and crush medical debt.
Yep, so that's it. And exactly, the third step is what we talked about in our last little story, is that you got to go back and negotiate. Step 3 is once you have the right number, you know what the right number is, you go back and say, you know what, I'm going to not use my insurance, I'm going to use cash. And this is a fair payment. Who can I speak with who can help me make a payment plan that fits my budget?
I've said the exact same thing over and over again on the show, like call them up and tell them it's cash and ask this thing.
That's right.
Okay.
Step 3, those are 3 steps.
Where can people get a copy of your book?
Oh, you can go anywhere you find your books online, and Barnes & Noble, all the good stuff.
Amazon.
And you can also, exactly. And you can also go to crushmedicaldebt.com.
Thank you very much. And once again, the name of your book?
What Your Doctor Wants You to Know to Crush Medical Debt. I call it Crush Medical Debt for short.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you very much. Get your phone number?
Oh, of course. It's 413-773-3333.
And you can go to hugyourmoney.com. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you for having me. I want to say 6 months later, I got a bill. I laugh about it. I tell the story. They tried to balance bill me for almost $90,000. Same exact hospital from that visit.
Wow.
And I'm cracking up, I they're trying to balance bill. The author of What Your Doctor Wants You to Know to Crush Medical Debt, really? Oh, this is going to be fun. And they ended up in my book.
Oh, that's great.
That example.
Underwritten by Hug Your Money.
Permission granted to chase your dreams.
Will you help us spread the word about financial fitness? Please like, subscribe, and choose all. Thank you.